Morning, everyone, and welcome to the first live event on day 4 of National Apprenticeship Week. I'm your host, Andy from Career Map TV, and it is a pleasure to introduce the team from Pearson, who will be running through what opportunities they have to offer from an apprenticeship and early careers perspective. We'll hear about the apprenticeships, what they have on offer, the recruitment process. We'll also get the inside track from current apprentices who will share their experiences with us. Remember, there will be a Q&A at the end of the webinar, so if you want to leave any questions in the chat and the Q&A box, we'll return to them at the end of the session. So without further ado, I'll hand on to the Pearson guys to continue with their session.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our session. And as we say, do please ask as many questions as you like, put them in the chat. We can always stop and respond to them, and we've got time at the end where we can actually answer them for you as well. So what we're planning to do is a bit of a whistle-stop tour, I have to say, of apprenticeships and some of the key things that you need to know, both in terms of the application process, but also some of the nuances about apprenticeships versus other options that are available to you. And what we're going to do is talk about some of our experiences here in Pearson and the way that we do things. But what we're aiming to do is make it generic. So we'll be talking also about how it might be with other organisations as well, so that you know what to expect when you're out there looking. And we've got the team. You can see us all down the bottom there, and they'll introduce themselves as we go along. And Amani is one of our apprentices with us at the moment, and she's on secondment to Siobhan and myself in our team, waving away like mad. Okay, so here's some of the things that we're going to go through with you. We're going to go through the structure of an apprenticeship, so you know when you start one what it entails, and it's the generic structure that any apprenticeship comes under. We'll talk a little bit, obviously, about benefits and about the different sectors apprenticeships are in, how to apply, tips and hints. So hopefully a pretty rounded session for you on all the things that you need to know. And if there are things that we don't cover, please just ask. All right, that's the key here, ask. So here we are. So this is the apprenticeship team in Pearson. So we look after our employee apprentices. So that means that we recruit apprentices into Pearson, and we also have internal members of staff that go on to apprenticeships as well. Now, we don't deliver our own apprenticeships. We actually engage a number of colleges, universities and training providers. I think we're working with about 24. And the reason we've got so many is because we are an international business and we have so many different job roles. And the joy about apprenticeships, I think, is we've got over 6,000 different apprenticeship standards now in existence. So we use the expertise that these external organisations have that we don't. And it means then that we've actually not just bringing talent into the business and developing talent, but we're keeping up to date with new thinking, because the organisations we work with are current in their thinking, and the standards themselves are written by employers for not just the job roles of now, but the job roles of the next 5 years. I won't say longer than that, because actually businesses are changing quite dramatically, very, very fast at the moment. So you can see Siobhan and I have sort of got a bit of an interesting background. And also we've been very involved in apprenticeships and government funded learning and employers for many, many years, which means we're uniquely placed. And a lot of the big companies out there have people like us and teams that look after the apprenticeships. So a little bit about Pearson. I'm sure you've all heard of us in terms of where we sit within schools, but what you might not know is that much about us as an employer, and that's where I'm coming from. So I sit in HR, and we are an international business. We are operational in 200 countries. We have over 20,000 staff around the world. We are a FTSE 100. We're actually a British company. We started off in construction, believe it or not, in the 1800s. And as you can tell from what we do now, we have diversified and moved around an awful lot in our history. What we're very much known for now is digital learning. And we have a huge number of products and services that we offer around the world. And we don't just operate in the educational part of education learning, we're actually in company learning as well. So it's a vast area. I mean, we offer modern foreign languages, we offer language training, we've got Pearson Test of English, which is used when you're going forward for citizenship. And of course, we've got the brands that you would recognise us for as well. So it's a really interesting organisation in terms of the breadth that we've got, but the opportunities, and that's the key thing with apprenticeships. They open up opportunities, and it's about going into an organisation and doing a job you love, with the apprenticeship training you up as you're working. And that's an incredible opportunity. It gets you into your job role really quickly, gets you understanding how organisations work. And it's just a really neat way, I think, to kick off your career. So that sort of gives a really nice lead in to what an apprenticeship is. The key thing is you've got to be employed. You've got to have a contract of employment, and that has got to be for at least the duration of the apprenticeship. Now, apprentices are long, so the shortest is probably going to be about 15, 18 months, and the longest could be something like 4 years if you're doing an engineering, for example, or a higher level apprenticeship. What they do for you as individuals is give you that wonderful combination of studying whilst working, but being given time to study, and I'll explain that a little later. And it's not that you're going to have to go away and use all of your own personal time. So there's still an element of that, but it's really important that you understand that you're actually studying, and then in most cases putting that learning into practice straight away. So it's not completely separate from what you're doing in your job. It's really integrated with your job role. So it's about 80-20. So 20% of your time is studying for your apprenticeship, 80% of your time is spending on work, though obviously there's that overlap. And it's very much, and when you do an apprenticeship, it's linked to a sector or an industry, but it's all about the job role. So you are learning the skills that are relevant for the job role that you are doing. There might be a little bit of broadening that out so that you are preparing for maybe a slightly different job role or getting ready for promotion, but it's all about the job. And that is really, really key. Okay. I can see questions coming in. That's absolutely fantastic. I think all of us are probably going to field them for you, and I'll come on to the sector one for you in a little while. So then, some of the key things for you to know is that you cannot do an apprenticeship if you're under the age of 16. And you can't be in full-time education, obviously, because you've got to be employed. T-levels, which is a new level 3 programme that's on offer in colleges, but also now in some schools, is a really good lead-in to apprenticeships. So you can actually move from a T-level qualification through into an apprenticeship, as of course you can from GCSEs and A-levels as well. You are paid to do the work. That, again, you're on an employment contract, so you must be paid. Now, I've put here the minimum salaries. These are apprenticeship salaries. Now, there are companies that will pay those, but there's also a lot of companies that pay more than that. And I think it's really important when you are looking at apprenticeship vacancies that you understand what the salary is and what the duration is as well. In Pearson, we actually pay the going rate for the job. We take a little off because it's a training role for however, but what that means is managers can then give that back as performance bonuses throughout the duration of the apprenticeship, which means by the time you finish the apprenticeship, you're at that level of anybody else on that job role that says, right, you are now competent, you're really doing the job well, and you can go for promotion, etc. Apprentices must work at least 30 hours a week. There are some flexibilities with that. So you could be in roles where maybe there is shift work pattern, or maybe there are not so many hours a week. What the provider does then is extend out the length of the apprenticeship. But if you just think full-time employment, you're not going to go wrong. Okay. Also, your contracts of employment must follow UK law, obviously, HR law. So 20 days paid holiday plus bank holidays. You are, as an apprentice, entitled to enter for an NUS card. Some employers will pay that for you, some not, but you can certainly go for that yourself. And then in certain parts of the country, as an apprentice, you're also entitled to some help with travel to the workplace. So, for example, in London, if you live and work in London, then you're entitled to the Apprentice Oyster Card, which gives you free travel for the duration of your apprenticeship. And there's quite a lot of initiatives like that are being worked on to make it easier for people, particularly in the more geographically remote areas of the country. And it's got here 170 industries with 1,500 job roles available. That's the sort of scope of vacancies that are usually up on the government vacancy matching service. And there's a huge range of different standards. I think in Pearson we're offering over 40 standards at the moment, ranging from a level 2 all the way to level 7, and I'll explain what those levels are to you as well. So seriously, you could do something in cybersecurity, do something in nuclear energy, doctor, and here veterinary nurse as well. So pretty much anything and everything, there is now an apprenticeship standard that will do the job. Right, structure of an apprenticeship for you then, so that you've got a little bit of an understanding. I'm not going to go into great depth, but I just want you to sort of know how it looks and feels. So the main bulk of your apprenticeship, no matter how long it is made up of the learning and development bit. So every apprenticeship standard is structured with knowledge, skills and behaviours. And those are all designed to give you the knowledge to do the job and to be able to put it into practice and have the professional behaviours that would be expected of that job in that sector, in that industry. So the learning and development bit probably is going to be, I don't know, something like 18 months for some, and then might be 3 years for others, for example. But it's very much then the knowledge and the skills part. It might have a qualification in it. It might have the degree element in it as well. So that's the big bulk of everything. Then you come to something called Gateway, and that is a formal process where anybody concerned in the apprenticeship, you, your line manager, the provider, all sort of get together and say, do we think that you are ready to go into the final bit? And then you've got endpoint assessment, and that is the final assessment that gives you the end result of your apprenticeship, which could be a pass, a merit or distinction. And there you actually are assessed by an external assessor. Quite taxing, it's not an easy thing, but it really does give that credibility to all that wonderful learning that you've undertaken. I can see a couple of questions here. Is an apprenticeship respected the same as a degree qualification by an employer? Actually, more so, to be honest with you, Joe, because the employer knows that you've put these things into practice. You're not just talking about stuff, you're actually doing it. So whether it's a degree or whether it's not, whether it's something lower, it's all about you coming in and you doing it. And the managers really appreciate that, because it's not just the skills and the behaviours that you are learning as an apprentice, you actually bring them in and they have an impact on the team and the colleagues in the team as well. So you might perhaps bring in a new idea and a process changes as a result, and then the whole team becomes more productive. So, there's a real benefit in actually seeing that rather than it being just an academic thing. Joe, you also asked about apprenticeships leading to a full-time job. That's why it's important to have a look when you're applying for a vacancy as to whether it is a contract of employment just for the duration of the apprenticeship, or whether it's a permanent contract of employment. I think it would be fair to say that some employers, it would be for the duration, but what they would be aiming to do is put you forward for full-time roles once you've completed. In Pearson, we do it differently. When you apply for an apprenticeship vacancy, it's a permanent job. So you know that you have a job when your apprenticeship finishes. Doesn't stop you applying for other things, so you can go for other roles within Pearson before you finish your apprenticeship. The apprenticeship goes with you. If the role is still appropriate, you can finish your apprenticeship in the new role. I just saw somebody saying about qualifications to get onto an apprenticeship. It honestly depends on the employer. a lot of employers now are not being prescriptive over GCSEs and A-levels. However, if you're going for a high-level apprenticeship, particularly one with a degree element to it, you have to remember that you've got to fulfill the application process of the university. So you're going to have A-levels. A lot of the others, I would say, good GCSEs. However, if you don't have good GCSEs, particularly English and Maths, not an issue, because you do them as part of the apprenticeship. And the same with the degree apprenticeships as well. So I think, you know, as long as employers are not specifying it necessarily, but just be aware that if you're going for a higher level apprenticeship, then you're going to have some pretty good, at least English and Maths behind you. So a little bit about off-the-job training, if that's okay with you. So it is actually specified that an apprenticeship must have 20%, which equates to 6 hours a week regularly throughout their duration of the apprenticeship, to work on the qualifications and the learning itself. And that is paid off the job time. So your employer pays for you to do this, okay? It can be done in all sorts of different ways. I mean, if you're going to university, then it's likely to be a block, potentially. It could be one day and it's a set day a week. It could be that it's workshops. It could be virtual workshops. It could be that you go into a training centre. So it really depends on the delivery model that you are looking at, or the employer has decided upon, and the type of apprenticeship that you're doing. The off-the-job is more often than not teaching sessions. So it could be the theory, it's the knowledge. If you're doing something like engineering, then it would have a certain element of practical to it. Some of the sciences would be practical. If you're working in the medical sector, then there'll be quite a lot of practical elements to it as well. Also, if you need learning support, all of the organisations put learning support in. So if you need additional support to complete assignments, or you need additional time, or you need specialist support, that is all available at no cost to you as the apprentice, okay? It generally takes place outside of the workplace. And as I said, you might go places, or it might be online, and a lot of it now is online. And it is very flexible. So, you know, if you miss something, there's always an opportunity to catch up. And if you're on annual leave, for example, again, your provider will know that, and you can actually then do a checkup on that. So certainly the model will be decided upon. I'm just having a look at some of the questions. There is a law apprenticeship, yes, and there is engineering as well, okay? Again, don't think about industries necessarily that you are known for in the sector. So, for example, every big business will have HR, marketing, finance, legal. So you don't just need to be going to solicitors and thinking about doing a law apprenticeship there. You could actually be doing it in a financial institution, an institution like us, hospitality, etc. So keep your options open. Look at the employers that are out there, and you'll be surprised at the range of apprenticeships that they offer. They're not just going to offer IT because they're an IT organisation. No, they're going to offer a lot of other things as well. So it just means that you keep your options open, and I think that's a good thing for you, really healthy. So here, and apologies if it's a little blurry, but here are some of the examples of what that off-the-job training could be. So it could be coaching, it could be some learning that you do in your company anyway. It could be working on assignments. So you can see it's a huge range. So it's not just about sitting in a classroom, is really the emphasis of that particular slide for you. And that's because this is all about putting it into practice in your job. Okay, and a little bit about the levels, because I think this does confuse people. So apprenticeships are levelled from level 2 up to level 7 at the moment, okay? Probably going to be higher soon. And they are equivalent to GCSEs, A-levels, etc., as it says here on the slide. But there's a couple of things I want to say to you. Remember that apprenticeships are about the job. I keep coming back to that. So a level 2 apprenticeship is probably it will be an entry level job role. So it might be somebody who works behind the counter in a shop, for example, or it might be perhaps somebody who's coming newly into construction. So it's entry level. Level 3, again, can be entry level, and it depends on the sectors here, but entry level predominantly. And then you move up into the higher. So what that means then really is that when you're going for apprenticeship roles, you need to be looking at the ones that are relevant to you. And to a certain extent, forget the levels, because, you know, you certainly could apply for degree apprenticeship. So they're level 6, but equally you could be applying for a level 2, level 3. And it's just about where you're joining in that organisation and where that organisation is looking to bring people into their business. So some companies will actually have a cohort of degree apprenticeship vacancies every year. And for them, it's about bringing early talent in. But you'll also find some who will have vacancies, like Pearson, actually, we have vacancies all year round, and the vacancies are the job roles. So I might have a level 4 vacancy, but I might have a level 3, I might have a level 6 or 7. It's about the job. And also we have people who are former graduates from university applying for level 3 roles because they want to do that job, they want to learn their trade and then progress on up. So I find the levelling confusing for people. And I think you just need to, if I was in your shoes, I'd be looking at the jobs that I think that sound really, really interesting. And then following that, because if you're happy in your job, you're going to love the learning that you're going to get on your apprenticeship. And that means that you're probably going to fly, get promoted and move on up. And then, you know what, if there's a higher level apprenticeship later on, because it fits the job role, you've got the opportunity of doing that as well, because you can do more than one. You know, there's opportunities to actually use it as a bit of a progression pathway for you, if that fits you and the company. Okay, that's me. I'm going to hand over now to Siobhan. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. As you can, and as you've heard this morning, and I know there's been lots of questions about sectors and the various apprenticeships that you can do. As you can see, there's a wealth of different sectors that offer apprenticeships, which is just fantastic to see. And in line with the apprenticeship levy coming in for employers back in 2017, we've really seen the uptake of apprenticeships with employers from across these sectors. As of today, there is over 660 apprenticeship standards, and they're all listed on the Institute for Apprenticeships website, which I've dropped the link into the chat. And we've mentioned before, they really can range from being a doctor to a journalist, things like digital marketing, software development. And they've always looking at new standards to bring through. So employers get together, look at what the requirements are for business in the future, in the coming years, and they design new apprenticeships all the time. So they're very current and up to date. Currently, there's 78 apprenticeship standards in development, and that means that they're quite close to being approved. And they're in areas such as nutrition. And we were on an event yesterday for National Apprenticeship Week, and we were talking to someone who potentially wants to work in the NHS as a nutritionist. So there is now going to be a route way in the future to do that via the apprenticeship route. To things like robotic engineering and AI technology with the move to that more general. So as you can see, there is a lot of choice. So I'll move you on to find out about the benefits. So if you really like what you've heard today and you think potentially an apprenticeship could be for you, these are the key benefits that we feel that you get as you take on an apprenticeship. So we mentioned that you have to be employed. So you do earn a salary while you're learning. And for some, this is a really great way to sort of get into the world of work and learn while you earn at the same time, whilst getting further qualifications and experience. You do learn substantial new skills on an apprenticeship. That 20% training that you get, the statutory requirement, really is only the kind of the minimum of what you get when you're an apprentice. Day one into a new employer, you're going to be doing lots of training around their organisation, how they operate. So you'll be learning things from day one on that 80% time where you're actually within your job role. You're getting hands-on experience as well. So this is, taking what you're learning in the classroom and putting that back to practice in your job. And that's one of the great things that we see in Pearson, is that people are actually putting the learning back into practice and really helping our business grow and develop for the future that we need. Your developing that kind of professional network. So through the apprenticeship route, there's lots of connection that you make with other apprentices from other organisations, and that can be through the training provider that you study with. But we also network with other professional bodies such as the Association of Apprenticeships and Rate My Apprenticeship and some of the other organisations that are really there to sort of support apprentices in their journey. In Pearson, all apprentices are also allocated a mentor, and most organisations really see the benefit in this for apprenticeships. Having someone within the organisation who's there to guide you on your apprenticeship, but also support you in learning what it's like to work for that organisation and to understand and navigate the business. Achievement of an apprenticeship standard. So you are going to get a formal qualification and a certificate that sits alongside that. And employers really highly regard these because we understand the work that goes into apprenticeships. It's the academic side, it's the knowledge gain, but it's also those skills and behaviours that you develop as part of the apprenticeship. Often, as part of the apprenticeship standard, and depending on the level, you may also achieve a professional membership qualification. And that is seen in things like HR with the CIPD, or the Association of Project Managers if you do the level 4 project management. We're seeing more and more of this where professional membership bodies are really highly regarding apprenticeships and aligning their qualifications to apprenticeship standards. You get your tuition paid for. So if you are on one of those higher or degree apprenticeships, your employer pays for your degree. So you are achieving a degree at a level 6 and sometimes a level 7 if it's master's, and that's paid for all by your apprenticeship employer. They're just a fantastic way really to get a pathway into your career, and starting at the lower levels also gives you the foundation to get those employability skills with getting targeted support from a training provider and your employer in that more supportive environment under the apprenticeship. So what do we offer at Pearson? So today we're talking more generally about the 360 and trying to answer as many questions as we can for you about apprenticeships, because we understand that there is a lot of information out there and it can be a little bit confusing. But just drawing it down to us in Pearson ourselves, and a number of you have reached out on the chat to ask if we recruit apprentices. We do, and we're delighted to be able to have those opportunities throughout the year. We don't do an annual campaign, it's worth saying, like some of the other employers. You'll often see that some of the large corporate firms maybe only recruit to have people starting in September. We don't do that. We're very driven by our business and the needs that we have throughout the year. So we have vacancies that can pop up on our pearson.jobs website throughout the year. So it's worth taking a note to look at that at times where maybe you might feel that you've missed the deadline date for September. It's worth checking out our website. So we actually offer from level 3 to level 7 apprenticeships. It's been mentioned about the levels today, and it is worth mentioning that we have a really good track record in Pearson of apprentices who start on the level 3 or level 4 apprenticeship, maybe in sales and marketing or an IT apprenticeship. And then they go on to do a degree apprenticeship and progress onto that after they've completed their lower level apprenticeship. And often they're quite fast tracked in doing that. So it progresses straight after the level 4 or the level 3. So they feel that they've almost moved in line with their peers in terms of university and those that go and do the undergraduate route, whilst earning a salary and getting the experience of the job while they're doing that. And we've got some apprentices that have left and are 17, 18, join at level 3, and now are managers in their early 20s and are doing the chartered management degree apprenticeship. But they're really in a role where they can put the learning into practice. So don't be put off by applying for some of the lower level apprenticeships if you have a passion to move into that particular area of work. We pay really competitively for our roles at Pearson, and it's another myth that I could have bust around, a misconception is that apprentices are really lowly paid. There is a minimum wage for apprenticeships, but we pay much higher than that, and we're really competitive in terms of our salaries, with most, especially the London-based ones, being about 20,000 and above. We also support those professional membership body fees, and we support all of our apprentices where they can join professional bodies to do that. And that's another great way for our apprentices to network and kind of gain professional knowledge and experience outside of Pearson. Anne and myself sit in the Early Talent and Apprenticeship team. So we're a dedicated team that are here all year round to support apprentices. We really get to know our apprentices. We're there throughout their journey, supporting them on their learning and their assessments as well when they get towards the end. And we really celebrate their achievements as well. So really sung about, it's really well regarded as a way to join our organisation. And that strong network of support means that our apprenticeships and apprentices do really well. Most of our apprentices do achieve distinction rates, and we've got a really high proven track record in that. Around 80% of our apprentices get distinctions, which is just amazing. We've got apprentice ambassadors, and we're up to about 29 now, who are current and former apprentices who support the programme, support apprentices on their journey. And that can be things from supporting new joiners into the company to be onboarded, to working out how we work and finding out about our culture, to just some of the social side of meeting up with apprentices. They also are on hand to help with things like endpoint assessment and support and guidance around how to really do well at the endpoint. As I said before, everyone has a mentor. And for those that are doing higher level degree apprenticeships, we also allocate a senior leader sponsor, someone in a different part of the business, very senior, who's there to kind of guide you on your career pathway within Pearson. We obviously meet the 20% requirement, which for our apprentices, we don't just give 6 hours a week, we actually give a full day. And that's very flexible about how people use that. Some people do a day a week, some people do block, some people do 2 half days. It's quite flexible. But in addition to that, we give 2 hours per week study time to recognise that, you know, it is quite a juggle balancing a job as well as an apprenticeship. So we give that extra time so apprentices have extra support to do their best and achieve really high grades. Okay, I am delighted to have on today's webinar Imani Brown, who's a Chartered Management Degree Apprentice with us at Pearson. She's actually working in our team at the moment in Early Talent, and she's an apprentice ambassador. Imani is fantastic at supporting other apprentices, and I'm delighted that she's here today to talk a little bit about her experience of being an apprentice. And she's also going to introduce some of our other colleagues as well. So over to you, Imani.
Thank you, Siobhan. Yeah, so hi everyone, my name's Imani and I'm currently in the 3rd year of my Chartered Manager Degree Apprenticeship. So what that basically means is Monday to Thursday, I work at Pearson, and then on Fridays, I get to attend the University of Kent and work towards my business management degree. So the Chartered Manager Degree Apprenticeship is all about preparing you to be a manager in a business context. So at uni, I learn about all the functions of business. So I'm in my final year now. So I've learned about HR, people management, marketing. I've even done a law module. So it really is really diverse, really covers a lot of areas. So taking it back to my job role and my role at Pearson. So I started out in Pearson College working in the communications team. So that's all about raising brand awareness for our division. So I worked a lot around social media. So I looked after our social media channels, our blog, our website, and I also created lots of different kinds of content. And now, most recently, I've started a secondment in Anne and Siobhan's team, so in the Early Talent and Apprenticeships team. And I've been leading on some marketing and communication activity for some of their upcoming events and activities that we've got going on in the team. So a lot of people ask me why I sort of chose to do an apprenticeship. And I think it's because I wanted to get into work and I wanted to get on with my career. But at the same time, I really wanted to gain a qualification because I knew that education was really important to me. And I think with the apprenticeship, you get to put your learning into context. And that's really important to me. I like real world examples. I like to see things come to life. And I think that's what makes uni so much better. The fact that I can do a university project and apply it in the workplace. So, for example, I did a university project about how to improve our brand awareness, and I did a bit of research, and it turned out that TikTok was becoming a really useful tool. So I actually got the opportunity to lead on creating 2 new TikTok channels for our organisation, which is something that was really special for us. It really helped improve our brand awareness. So apprentices aren't just people who make teas and coffees and do admin work, you know, we get to work on real world projects and we're really respected amongst our colleagues as well. So I think the most important thing about the apprenticeship is that not only do you get the qualification, but you also learn a lot about yourself and you get to develop lots of different skills. So while I've got lots of academic knowledge, I've learned about the technical aspects of the business industry. I've got to pick up sort of work skills like soft skills, so communication, public speaking, leadership, team working, and that's something that you develop on the role. It's not something that you can learn in a textbook. So at the beginning of my apprenticeship, I was such a shy person. I didn't really like speaking in meetings, but now I've come onto this event. I've done lots of other events in the past, and yeah, it's been great. So yeah, enough about me now. I'm also going to tell you a little bit about Charlie. So Charlie's a similar age to me. So we've come out of being in school and we've come to Pearson. So she started in a temporary role, just in the coursework team. And after coming into Pearson, she really liked it and she thought, okay, I might like to do an apprenticeship. So she actually decided to change industry because she used to work in childcare, but now the apprenticeship allowed her to work in IT as an IT project manager, and she has loved it so far. She's learned lots of different skills, and within the first few months of her apprenticeship, she actually got to work and execute her very first project. So again, apprenticeships, it really just puts you into your career. You get to work on great projects, exciting projects, and your work is a real value to the company. As us as apprentices, we contribute value. So yeah. So now you've heard quite a bit about apprenticeships, the benefits of them, our experience, and how we found it. So now it's sort of time to decide if they're right for you. So we're going to show you a few videos now. So one is about people who are apprentices at Pearson, each in different parts of the organisation, speaking about their experience and why it was right for them. And then there's also another video from another girl called Ella, and she did an apprenticeship at Robert Welch. So yeah, I think those are going to play now.
If you'd have asked me 14 years ago where I'd be today, the answer would have been very, very different. I would never have achieved so much in my career without this fantastic opportunity of apprenticeships.
I decided to become an apprentice after graduation as I was really struggling to find a job. I realised that I needed further training, qualifications and on-the-job experience to start my career.
The knowledge and skills that I've learned and am learning through my apprenticeship really are positively impacting on every part of my job.
I became an apprentice because I feel like I'm more of a hands-on learner. When I heard about Pearson's apprenticeship, I thought that this is the perfect opportunity for me to continue practical learning in a field that I'm actually really passionate about.
I didn't know much about apprenticeships before I started, but since then I've become an apprenticeship ambassador and get to have so many conversations with different teams across the business.
I'm a huge advocate for apprenticeships because I was an apprentice myself, and I just think that it's such an amazing pathway into a great career. I manage an apprentice at the moment, and the development I've seen in them over the year that they've done their apprenticeship has been fantastic.
I would encourage others to apply for an apprenticeship with Pearson, because Pearson really does instill its slogan of always learning into its employees.
I would recommend becoming an apprentice with Pearson because it's really celebrated throughout the whole organisation as a huge achievement.
Overall, I'm really glad I chose to do my apprenticeship at Pearson. Working inside a FTSE 100 company means I get to experience real innovation and real dynamics on a day-to-day basis.
Pearson offer a wide range of apprenticeships from level 3 to level 7 all across the UK. The support they've given is absolutely fantastic, and I wouldn't have chosen to do my apprenticeship with anybody else.
I hope you've really enjoyed listening to our apprentices and hearing about life in Pearson and the jobs that we have on offer and the apprenticeships that we have on offer. And we look forward to hearing from you.
My mum actually found the apprenticeship vacancy at Robert Welch Designs. I wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to do after sixth form. Most of my friends were going to unis. I wanted to get out of the mindset of full-time education, and I was eager to get my foot on the career ladder as soon as possible. I was their first ever apprentice. My apprenticeship involved a placement scheme rotated around the company in each and every department. I'll arrange the collection for Friday morning then. 3 departments offered me full-time roles. I chose the operations role, export sales administrator. My parents knew I was capable of going to university, but they see me doing well in what I'm doing and I think they're really proud. My mum still reminds me that she was the one that found my apprenticeship. I'd like to be earning 6 figures by the time I'm 30. And that's the beauty of starting young. It's all possible.
Thank you for that. I mean, we've shared 2 different varied videos there. We've got some Pearson apprentices, and I think we've also myth bust there that apprenticeships are for all ages. And in Pearson, we very much support our internal existing staff to do apprenticeships. So there's opportunities to join us on an apprenticeship, but also when you're working with us, if you have a change of job role or looking to move into a different direction, we also support internal colleagues to do that. And Ella, I think, just shows, you know, when you're applying for apprenticeships, it can feel a bit of a family affair, and lots of people get support from parents and carers. So yeah, we just showcased her journey because I think she's done fantastically well, and you can see that she's also won some awards. So well done to her as well. So Amani, I'm going to bring you back on at this point if you're there.
Yes.
I would like to take you back to 2020 when you were in a similar position to maybe some of the students on this call. You would have been exploring your options, potentially like Ella, you might have been getting your family talking around the dinner table around your potential for the future. Were apprenticeships something you naturally looked at, and are you aware of the government apprenticeship find and apprenticeship website? What was your experience of applying for apprenticeships?
Yes, so the government website was actually quite special to me because it's the first place I looked for apprenticeships. So I really wasn't keen on the traditional route. All my friends have gone to university. I was like one of 3 people who were gonna look at apprenticeships at my school. So it wasn't very popularly talked about at the time. But when I was looking, I kicked off with the government website, and I also looked around at other sites as well. I think that's the key thing here. Make sure you're being really, really diverse in your search. Apprenticeships is not the same as uni when there's one set centralized date where you apply and then it goes out and then it's the same place for the same application. With apprenticeships, they just come out as and when they do in the year, and you've really got to keep your eyes peeled. So if you're looking to apply to an apprenticeship, the first thing I recommend you do, sign up to the government website, make sure you get those alerts. And you can also search by industry, by apprenticeship, by sector, by role. So that's the first thing I recommend you do. But after you've sort of done that and you've got used to that, definitely look even on Google, rate my apprenticeship, UCAS apprenticeships. There's so many. Get my first job. Not going to uni, just at the top of my head. So yeah, really, really be diverse in your search.
Thank you, Amani. And I think you're right. It's a great place to start, is to find an apprenticeship website. And just to make it a little bit easier for those on the call, most employers do put all of their vacancies on the Find the Apprenticeship site, even if it's just an initial kind of advert that then links back to their main company website. So you then have an account that you do on the Find an Apprenticeship site, but then you might have to do a further application form on their main site. But it's a great place to start. It's really quick and easy to have an account on there. You can see we've done a screenshot. You just have to create an account, add your personal details. And once you've done that, you've got a main account that then you can use to apply for multiple apprenticeships. So using that search facility by apprenticeship. So if you know the particular apprenticeship that you're looking for, you can drill down by that. And as Marnie said, the level as well. The other things you can do is you can search by the radius of where you live. So you can put in your postcode and you can search a 5, 10, 15 mile radius. You can even do an England-wide search. And I've seen a couple of the questions today were around relocating. If that's not an option for you, but you've seen a role that's far, far away, do be keeping the alerts for your local area, for that apprenticeship area that you're interested in. Unless there's a particular company you really want to move for, then hopefully something will come up closer to home that you don't have to relocate, because that can be, and we'll get onto that in the question, quite a costly thing to do. And for a young person as well, having that support available at home can be helpful in the early months of starting an apprenticeship. So it's a great way to be able to search. And it is really important that you're going to be able to travel easily to the role. So having that search facility of vacancies near where you live is really important. The alerts, Amani said as well. And you can also track your application through here. So once you've submitted it ahead of the deadline, you can look at when the deadline of the role closes, and you'll also be contacted with sort of alerts and progress on your application through the website. Okay, so I'm just going to move on to some hints and tips. So I'm sure that your school leaders, and if you're doing any webinars this week in terms of National Apprenticeship Week, all companies and all recruiters will say that researching the company that you're looking to join is really important. You need to really want to work there. Full-time is, upwards of 35 hours a week. You spend a lot of your time. So having the alignment of your values, purpose, mission, and a passion for the role that you're going to be doing is really important. And Amani, I think you would echo that. You've very much kind of been in the comms marketing space from day one, and that's something you felt passionate about. In terms of when you're applying for multiple apprenticeships, being really clear on your research about why you're applying for one against the other, so that if you do move forward in the application, that you can really articulate from the research that you've done why you think you're the best candidate for them as well. In terms of preparing, Imani mentioned as well that Pearson and lots of other organisations don't have sort of set timelines like UCAS throughout the year. So you will need to be planning in against that Find an Apprenticeship website, the deadlines for some of these applications, because they will be all different. So planning your time against your A-level study, putting away chunks of time if you're doing your UCAS application alongside an apprenticeship application, that you're well prepared and you've got the time to work on an application. And also a CV and cover letter is often needed as part of that process as well. It's really important as well to analyse the job description. So in all of the adverts, either on websites for companies or on the Find an Apprenticeship site, they will have something like a job description or an outline of the role with some of the duties that you're expected to undertake. So aligning yourself and your skills, be it that you might have a part-time job or some volunteering experience or even extracurricular experience through your studies, aligning what you can bring to the table now will be really good for you when you put your application together. Getting across that passion, which for some people have asked me before, how do you do that? And it's really about showing that you've done your research, you understand the company, you understand the culture, and you're aligning yourself and your personal brand, bringing a bit of your personality to the application. So in any supporting statements, giving examples of roles that you've played, maybe in teamwork or in any kind of roles that you've done, what sort of person you are when you've been working with others. Imani, I'm just going to ask you there, have you got any hints and tips that you would give for the next stage in the application process? It's often quite daunting for young people who may not have had an interview in the past to go through an interview for an apprenticeship or a selection centre. Is there anything that you would say in terms of a tip for those people?
Yes, definitely. So again, going back to the beginning of my apprenticeship journey, applying, I found it really difficult. But I think the main thing that you need to do is just prepare, because once you've prepared, you're going to feel so much more comfortable and confident. So what I like to do when I have an interview is just prepare some commonly asked questions. So literally just go to Google, type in either the role or the apprenticeship that you're applying for and say commonly asked questions, for example, for a marketing executive role. And you kind of just go through those questions and maybe just add some notes, some things that you'd like to say, maybe rehearse it with someone so you can practice saying it out loud. But there are some general questions that you should prepare for, and some of those are on the screen here. So obviously, tell me a bit about yourself. I don't know if you guys have heard of anything called an elevator pitch, but that's basically when you speak about yourself, your motivations, why you're applying for your role. It's basically your story. So it's really your chance to sell yourself and what you stand for. Obviously prepare for why you're attracted to the role. So again, it goes back to what Siobhan was saying about analysing the job description. So what I like to do is actually print off the job description and highlight things and make notes and add stuff where I can say, oh, this role says I need to have copywriting experience. So I would say, oh, I wrote a blog about something or something like that. And then finally, you need to prepare why you want to work at the place, because obviously that sort of shows why you want to apply to the apprenticeship as well. So yeah, those are my main tips. Prepare for commonly asked questions, but also for a lot of you, this is going to be your first time going into an interview for a job role that's really aligned to your career path. So the main things I would sort of say, because apprenticeships can get quite competitive, especially the degree ones, just be yourself, be unique, and try and talk about things that are quite unique to you. So for example, a lot of people are going to have GCSEs. They would have gone to school. So try and not use examples from school. Maybe try and use examples from some of your hobbies. Maybe you were a part of a sports team, or maybe you're an artist, or you like dancing, anything like that. Really try to bring it in, because they know that you're not going to have lots and lots of experience in the industry. You're not going to know about everything in business. But if you're applying, sort of just talk about examples where, for example, if you're on a sports team, you've got teamwork skills, you've got communication skills, and that's what we're actually going to talk about in a minute.
Thank you, Amani. And I think we've put those questions, which I'll let you in on a tip here, is that mostly those are asked at Pearson as well. And at most apprenticeship providers will ask those sorts of things to get to know you. And they also are nice introductory questions before we get into more detail about the job role questions. So prepare for those. Another one that we might be thrown by, something like, what is your superpower? Thinking about, what is it, something that stands you out from someone else, and how you would get across that in an application form or an interview setting. And in terms of superpowers, maybe they're aligned to some of these power skills that us as employers are looking for in the next couple of years. So communication, Amani, you mentioned that, customer service skills, leadership abilities, attention to detail and collaboration. These are the top 5 power skills that us employers, Pearson and other employers that you'll be applying for apprenticeships with, are really looking for. And these are something you can be working on now. And as Amani said, tying them into things that you might be doing in part-time roles or extracurricular work, sports, clubs, and drawing these out in your application, because these are the types of people that we're looking for. It's not all about academic abilities. We're really looking for the right behaviours, attitudes that fit alongside what our business needs are. And here's just some useful websites that we thought we would also give you. Amazing Apprenticeships. They run lots of webinars similar to this throughout the year, lots of resources. There's also information on there for your parents if they want to find out more about apprenticeships. And also Apprentice Futures is an initiative that Anne and myself are quite passionate about. It's run by the Stationers Company Livery based in London, very much to promote apprenticeships in all areas, but with a focus as well in media communication and publishing. So if those areas are something you're interested in, the Apprentice Futures website and some of the events that they run will definitely be of interest. And conscious of time, we've just got under 10 minutes. Loads of questions have been coming in, and I know the Pearson team have been trying to answer them as we've been going along. But happy to take some of those now as well.
Yes, I'll go ahead and throw them your way. For your apprentices, there's a question here by Lena. How can apprenticeships help you grow as a person? So how did apprenticeships help you specifically grow?
As a business?
No, as a person, as an apprentice.
Amani, I think I'll give that one to you.
Yeah, I think for me, my apprenticeship has helped me grow in 2 ways. So one is sort of the academic knowledge that I've picked up from my degree and learning about business and learning about the industry. But the other side of it is sort of the self-awareness, soft skills that I've developed. So I spoke a little bit about the beginning, how at the beginning of the apprenticeship, I was a bit of a shy person, but now I've become more confident. I articulate myself better. I've become really good at public speaking. I've learned a lot about myself and the way that I work, and I've learned how I would like to progress in my career as well. So yeah, I think that's what an apprenticeship does for you. It develops not only yourself intellectually, but also in a professional context and in a soft skills context.
Yeah, and I mean, just from a management perspective, we see a really high proportion of the apprentices that come into the business, and even those that we train up internally, go on and get more responsibilities in their roles and also get promotion before the end of the apprenticeship and then go on. We've got quite a number of apprentices that are now in management roles and in senior roles in the business, which they do attribute to the apprenticeship, giving them that boost, that leg up and that visibility within the organisation.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff. From Josh here, how do you manage studying and assignments with a full-time job, and do you have to do a lot on the weekends?
This is a very good question. So in terms of apprenticeship, especially a degree apprenticeship, you're doing your uni 1 day a week while everyone else is doing it across the week. So yeah, there is an element of work involved, but we do have our 20% off the job. So that's my day a week dedicated to uni. And I think as well, you are expected to put time in your spare time, but it shouldn't have to take up every single weekend. You've just got to plan really ahead. So you've got to be disciplined, you've got to be planned. And once you plan early, then you can have time for your social life, then you can have time for relaxing, then you can have time for all of that. So it certainly is doable. You just have to be really organised and really proactive about it.
Great, good answer. To go expand on that, is there any times where when you started your apprenticeship, that there was maybe misconceptions of, oh, maybe if I had to do this, but no, I actually have to do this, or maybe you thought it was a lot more hands-on than you did, or any examples?
Yeah, so going into my apprenticeship, I wasn't expected to have not so much responsibility, but I was expected that. I think there's a really common misconception that apprentices like just make tea and coffee and they do like really small admin tasks. But coming into the apprenticeship, I've had opportunity to do so much and work on projects that have actually contributed value. And what I find really cool as well is that with uni, I can do research projects about my company and then present recommendations to them. And then I can apply that in my role, which I think is so cool. Like they really respect our opinions. They let us bring in new ideas. For example, I said about being able to lead on introducing new TikTok channels. I also introduced social media guidelines into the company as well. So again, they really respect us. And I wasn't expecting to just be able to come in and bring my own ideas and have people say, yes, you can go ahead and do that.
So it's very hands-on. I guess for all of you, so how does Pearson put themselves apart from other like competitors in relation to their apprenticeship programs and their schemes?
I mean, I think when I designed the program, it was all about putting the apprentices at the heart of it. And so everything that we do is about how we make the learning experience and the job experience the best that it can be, because out of that comes high performance, it comes engagement, it comes interest and aptitude and all the good stuff that you want. People stay. That's a key thing, obviously. You know, when you want people to come into the business, and as we do, we want them to stay, we want to develop them. We want them to be the future of the business. So we put a lot of support in around not just the apprentices, but the line managers as well, you know, who let's face it, don't necessarily understand apprenticeships, but they understand how to support individuals. And we've got individuals at all levels and at all points in their careers as well doing apprenticeships. So it means that we've got a fantastic community that builds up. So, you know, we've got apprentice ambassadors. We did training for them yesterday. We've got buddies. We've got senior leader sponsors. We're lucky. You know, we have the structure in the organisation to do that. Smaller businesses don't. However, they do have more opportunities for breadth. So I think, you know, you want to be going to organisations that really care passionately about the importance of the apprenticeship programme to their business and to the future of their business. And that way, you know that you're going to be in a really good, supportive environment.
Yeah, amazing. Well, also expanding on that, I know, I'm not sure for Pearson, but I know it's around 85% of apprentices stay in the company after their apprenticeship ends.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
Yeah, and I think that's a great testament to the fact that it is about putting things into practice. So, as Imani says, you know, you're productive really, really early on in your career. You know, you're not just sitting around and just doing the academic learning. You're actually doing something, and you are a productive member of a team. I mean, for us, because we have people on permanent contracts from day dot, then they stay and they go on, and it's lovely to see the journey that they've been on. I mean, I was just looking at that video. Ali, for example, who's on there, she did a sales apprenticeship when she was on the video. She's now doing a chartered management degree apprentice. She is now a manager, you know, and she came in very early on in her career. And we've had people that have joined us at 16 that again have progressed through the business and then might be doing a second apprenticeship. We've had some that are doing their third apprenticeship, you know, because their job roles have changed. It's just lovely to see all of that happening.
Mm-hmm. It does. Imani, what's the next step for you in your career with Pearson, would you say?
Yeah, so in terms of next steps for me, one unique thing about Pearson is that you can apply for other roles within your apprenticeship as well, which I think is really good that you can sort of have that progression opportunity before you actually finish your apprenticeship. So yeah, I've been applying to other stuff, and I'm also thinking about progressing within like marketing and communications. So yeah, I think that's the next step for me really. Just keeping my options open, and I know that Anna and Siobhan are so supportive with that. That's one thing about Pearson. They really care about your career development, and obviously being apprentices, they've invested in us. So they're very committed to finding us roles that work for us.
Amazing. That is great. Well, Alina says, do you have a recording of this? Yes. Alina, this is all recorded and will be on our website, on our YouTube within the week. So don't you worry about that. Unfortunately, I believe that is all the questions we have.
Can I just make one point? I think for something for people to look out for is the way that the job role is structured. We've changed now as organisations. We're not all in a physical working space. So just watch for that when you're looking at the wording in vacancies. You know, is it a hybrid? Is it a virtual? Think about how you like to interact. And if you need people and you need to be in an office or a site. Personally, when we're looking at our vacancies in Pearson, we want our apprentices to come into sites pretty regularly at the beginning of their apprenticeship, because we recognise that's the way that they're going to feel comfortable and really get into the team. So it's just one of those little nuances that's changed over these last few years. It's just one thing to watch for.
Lovely. Make sure people watch out for that. So thank you, and a big thank you to the Pearson team for joining us today, taking through their offerings, sharing their experiences, and answering our questions. Hope you found it very insightful. All the people in the call, remember this is recorded, so if you miss anything, it will be on our YouTube and website. Any last words, final words of advice from the Pearson guys?
No, just happy National Apprenticeship Week, and yeah, research is my parting gift. Check us out on pearson.jobs if you've liked what you've heard today about us and the team, and from Imani and some of the other apprentices. We'd look forward to receiving your application, and all the best.
Yeah, we wish you all the very best.
Perfect. And check out their socials as well as our TikTok as well. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
All the best. Cheerio.
Bye.